Hello students, how are you? Today's class is an introduction to electric current or current electricity. Now, we have studying from some last few classes we have been studying charge at rest. Okay, if all the electricity, if we can see electricity together, this can be studied in various branches depending on, see, everything we are studying about a charge only. However, if the charge is at rest, we study all the impact or study anything related to charge at rest, we call it electrostatics. See, electro means electron and statics means at rest. Electrostatics, and basically we'll say charge at rest. Charge at rest and related to any, all the studies related to impact of charge at rest in various positions, so everything we have studied, and electrodynamics. Now this electrodynamics, as the dynamics says, motion related. Electron, again same, charge in the motion. Now when we are calling charge in motion, again that motion may happen with zero acceleration, that is means a constant speed, or maybe there may be some non-zero acceleration, that means the speed of it is increasing, velocity of it is increasing or decreasing, whatever, there is a change in the motion. So if charge is moving at a constant speed, we call that current electricity, or we say that current electricity, which is the current topic what we are going to study. Current electricity. Charge moving with constant speed. If charge is moving with acceleration, we will see magnetism, and we'll go that, we'll deal that with a separate, like a separate chapter will deal. But now see, in according to NCERT syllabus, in electrostatic only we studied just two chapters, that is charge, electric charge and field, and electric potential and capacitance. Charge and field, potential and capacitance, both were the part of electrostatics only. Now we'll study current electricity, that is charge and motion, and that motion also with the constant speed. We'll see that. Terms regarding electricity which we will just see in detail now, and those terms many times it is being used, most of the times it is being used, but a proper in-depth understanding of those terms are required, so that whatever we are discussing in terms of those terms should be very clear in our mind. And the terms are potential difference, electric current, and current density. These three things we will be using very frequently, mostly the potential difference and the electric current all the time we will be using, and time will come gradually, you will see that these two terms are so common that in every numerical whatever we are discussing we will be using this concept, and it is possible that we will be giving the correct answers also, but still there will be doubt regarding these things in our mind. And mostly in the 12th class especially, whatever we are studying, we are not able to see the potential difference, the electron, whatever we have studied, like a charge in the field. Have you seen an electron anytime? No, right? So the things we are not seeing in 11th, whatever you have studied, the mechanics was a little complicated. However, it was little easy to understand also, because those things were tangible. In the slide, one slide is there, something is rolling in a rotational motion, what is rotating, something is falling, an object is falling, a lift is moving up, whatever we studied, those things we can touch and feel, that means those things were tangible. But mostly, why mostly, all the things of 12th, whatever we will be studying are not tangible. That means we have to imagine only, okay, everything we have to imagine. Now like that, potential difference, electric current, these terms also we will be using very frequently. However, there may be a possibility that we will be giving correct answers, still there will be messy, or it will not be clear in our mind. So before discussing anything in terms of these, we let us understand what are these. When we say potential difference, in the charge also I had compared this, not compared, we have derived this also. Potential difference at a particular point is equal to the work done in moving, bringing a unit positive charge from infinity to that point. If Let us say A is a point. What is the potential here? If from infinity I bring a unit positive charge from infinity to at this point, how much work will be done is called the potential at A. And similarly, what is the potential at B? From infinity, if a unit positive charge is brought here, whatever work is done is called the potential of a B. And what is the potential difference between A and B? Let us say VAB I am writing, that is equal to VA minus VB. Whichever is a greater, assuming that VA is bigger than VB, so VA minus VB. DB, let us say. Whatever is the potential difference. Potential difference is bigger minus smaller. What is the gap between them? Now, this is understandable from the point of view of the definition. On paper, we have understood this thing. But actually, electric current is possible only when there is a potential difference between 2 points. And since we are comparing the potential to a height of a liquid column, you remember, again the reason is because the potential difference we are not able to see it. It's difficult to have an idea of this. That's why we are always comparing it with water column in a U-tube, let us say. U-tube, you saved tube. In chemistry, what U-tube you are using? Let us say there are 2 columns. Let us say column P, column Q. And there is water till here in P and till only here in Q. Then there is a level difference, right? There is a difference in the height. And due to this difference, flow of water is taking place, right? It will flow till this levels become equal. That is, the difference becomes 0. This H becomes 0. Till then the flow occurs. Now, compare that thing as the height of the liquid in a tube we were comparing with the potential. Now, potential at A is something, potential at V is VB, VA, VB, let us say. Now, if there is a gap between them, then only charge will flow from always higher potential to lower potential, and we are calling that electric current. So, let us define electric current. Current, symbol is I, is equal to the flow of charge per time. Now, to be accurate, what we said, we observed a little how much one position we saw, how much a little charge is flowing per unit time we found. So, delta Q by delta T. However, the instantaneous current at a particular point, particular instant, if we want to say, what we'll do, we'll make in this thing only, this is called average current. Average current. And instantaneous current is just we will make delta T equal to 0. We will make it equal to 0 so that in that nearly equal to 0 time, how much small charge is flowing, that rate, that small charge flowing per time is called the instantaneous current. So mathematically, if we write that, how that will look like? Average current, I average is equal to delta Q by delta T, and instantaneous current is equal to, let me write I instantaneous is equal to limit delta T approaching 0, the average current. Average current when delta T approaching 0, or simply we write it as dQ by dt. Okay, Q, if you take a small q, is dQ by dt, that is the current. Now, the current is a measure of rate at which a charge is flowing from one point to another point, that we have understood. Actually, the rate at which a charge is flowing through a particular cross-sectional area, and we are taking that cross-sectional area normal to the flow of charges, that is, that flow of charges is current. Now, the thing is, whenever we are defining electric current, there must be a potential difference between 2 points, so that one electric current will be triggered, right? Now, we are familiar with a kind of, let us say there is one circuit where there is an electric bulb that's connected and the bulb is glowing. That means a current is flowing in the circuit. Okay. Now, a student had asked and rightly asked that the potential from here, this is a higher potential, this is at lower potential, but at this point, let us say this is 9 volt, then at this point what is the potential? 9 volt only. At this point what is the potential? 9 volt only. Okay, 9 volt only. Now at this point 0 volt, this side is 9 volt higher potential, this side is 0 0 0 till here it's 0 volt only. So the left part of the light you can say is at a 9 volt, here at a 0 volt. But at any 2 points of the conductor, let us say on this point is X, this point is Y. Now what is the potential drop between X and Y? It is potential drop is 0, 9 minus 9 is 0. But the confusion was, though the potential drop between these two is 0, how a current is flowing? Just now we are saying that only there must be a potential difference so that electric current will flow. See, this is simple to understand. Again, we will understand through the same analogy. Now here you see, suppose the level, there is a difference in the level. Okay, that's why water is flowing. So there is a level in difference of the water between the columns of P and Q, so that water is flowing. Now if our focus is between 2 points here, while the water is flowing, that time we are asking, there are 2 points, let us say X and Y. Between X and Y, the level of water is not changing, right? Then we are putting the question, though the level of water, there is no difference, so why water is flowing? When it is flowing and this water column in the Q is rising up, then water is flowing in this direction, right? From X to Y also water is flowing. But then you are saying between X and Y there is no difference in the level of water, why it is flowing? Now the answer is, yes, there is a potential difference, and that potential difference only driving this current. Similarly, here you see between X and Y there is a potential difference which is 9 volt, and that only is driving this current in the circuit. However, the points what we are choosing, in between those 2 points there is no potential difference, but still the current is flowing from 9 volt to 0 volt, higher potential to lower potential. Is it clear? So potential difference is something it can be compared with the level difference in the water, and the electric current, in this the flow of water is the current flow, and if a charge is flowing like that, we call that electric flow, electric current flow. Okay, then another term, current density, we are going to see. Symbol of that is J. Okay, the current density, it is actually a vector quantity. It's a vector quantity, so to be more accurate, over J one arrowhead has to be there, and this is again in terms of some analogy. If you explain, that becomes very clear, right? You remember in last class we had studied E dot S is equal to closed integral was phi, isn't it? Phi, isn't it? E dot ds. E was electric field, right? Electric field strength or electric field intensity. Field intensity was the relative number of electric flux or electric field lines passing per unit area. For that only we gave one name, electric flux. So phi is equal to E dot ds. You remember, E is a vector quantity, S is a vector quantity, but the dot product of two vectors is a scalar. We call that electric flux. That means how many lines are going per one complete area, that is the integration throughout the entire area we found, and that was called the total flux. So this you are familiar with. Why I am saying this, that here is, see, similar to that, electric current dot S if you do, and we will find out the integration of that will be equal to electric current. See, There, electric flux was one scalar quantity, but that was the integration of a dot product of two vectors, electric field intensity and area. Here, if current density is a vector quantity, and as how current density multiplied by this area vector will give you the current. Otherwise, what we can say in a different words, current per unit area is equal to, here also we could say that electric field intensity is equal to flux per unit area, we could say. Like that, here current density is equal to current per area, we could say. We can say, and that is written as J is equal to I by A. So what will be the unit of J? I's unit is ampere, A is the area, meter square, ampere per meter square, with the unit of current density. So potential difference, electric current and current density, these three terms orally we have understood. What, whenever somebody says potential difference between 2 points or potential difference across a battery, whenever we are using this word potential difference, we are having a clear sense now. And electric current and current density, clear? Now this electric current, there are actually different types of electric currents, and when in a day-to-day life or generally most of the time when we say electric current, what we mean, and but what are the other types, that also we are going to see now. See, suppose we are having one electric circuit, okay, plus minus one battery is connected. Let us say here there is a switch, just one tapping key. When you click, when you switch it on, it is continuous and it is flowing, current is flowing and the bulb is glowing. When you switch it off, current is not flowing, bulb is not glowing, as simple as that. But now see, if you will draw and if you will see the time, if you take a time taken along x-axis and how much current is flowing along y-axis, if you will take, what will happen? Suppose when you are seeing, you switched on it and you are seeing. Now when you switched on, that time if it is a t you are taking, or just before switching it on, you started your experimentation, from there you started observing this, and when you switched on, it glows immediately. This is your common experience, right? When the electric bulb is there, you switch it on and the electric bulb glows, right? Now, though from our senses, we are not able to sense that very small time gap, but there must be some time, right? Because just before switching it on, electric current was 0. And just when it is switched on, electric current is flowing and some current is flowing already. That you are seeing. But this value, this remains constant then. This value is coming from some time t is equal to 0, right? When you switched on. Because before that current was 0 at some time and current we assumed some value immediately. So a very tiny fraction of a second is there. Within that, the current increases from 0 to this maximum value, what remains constant then, right? In between that, what current is there? This is called transient current. Okay. So this is a transient current. Then we called one current called average current. That is total charge by the time taken for that much charge to flow, and instantaneous current, that is equal to limit delta t approaching 0 delta q by delta t. So average current, instantaneous current, and we are going to see the current altogether. What happens when current flows? What we are calling current. Now in a microscopic scale, let us say, in a current, in a conductor, current is flowing, right? If you see this conductor, magnifying, maximum zoom, we are just with one microscope or something like that, let us, we are seeing this is the part of the conductor. Okay. Now this is connected with the battery. charge is flowing through this. This is a very long one, okay? I am just showing this much only to make you understand. So this is a very long one in actuality. So current is flowing through the conductor means what? Charge is flowing through the conductor. The charge is flowing means what is flowing in that actually? See, there are free electrons, right? You remember the concept of free electrons in a body? Whatever charges are present on this, if those charges are allowed to roam about the surface of the material, surface of the conducting material, but at the same time it's not allowed to leave the material altogether, then we call that a free electrons, right? If number of free electrons on a conductor and a conducting material will be more and more, we are calling that a good conductor. If number of free electrons are very less or there are no free electrons at all, we call that an insulator. That means it's a bad conductor. Okay, so let us imagine there is one electron here. In which direction it will move? This is the positive side, higher potential. This is the negative side, lower potential, right? So the plus side will be pulling it and the minus side will be pushing it. Like charges repel each other, unlike charges attract each other, you know. So because of both of them, the electron will move in this direction, right? And a good conductor is having a huge number of free electrons, okay? So all the electrons will be pushed in this direction. So they will constitute little currents and all the currents are in the same direction. That's why it will be added up. All the electric currents will be added up, okay? Now, instead of not talking of all the electrons, I am talking of one electron only, and the same impact is for all the electrons present in that conductor, right? So one electron is flowing in this direction, right? So it is constituting some current. That current is called electronic current. Electronic current. However, there is a direction of current which is assumed to be positive to negative all the time. So the current direction is this. This current is called conventional current. By convention, this is assumed to be the direction of a current. Conventional current. Now see, conventional current and electronic current, the directions are opposite to each other. However, in general language, generally in day-to-day life, all the time whenever we are saying electric current, we mean this only. Conventional current only is called electric current. So, whenever we are saying find the direction of a current, it is from positive to negative only always. It is for the sake of a theoretical understanding only. I said electronic current is the direction of electron, the direction of a motion of the electron. However, in future, whenever we will be referring to the word current, we will mean conventional current only. That's why the direction of a current is always from positive to negative. Clear? Here, one more point we need to clarify that if the direction of a current is from positive to negative, if the direction of a current is from positive to negative, then the question comes whether electric current is a physical quantity we have learnt now, is a scalar or vector. To understand this, again we'll take up that example of water flowing in a tube only. Let us say there is a tube of water. Here another tube of water is getting mixed. Let us say water is flowing out what tube. Okay. The rate of flow of water is flowing in this. From this side water is coming, from this side water is coming, together water is flowing out. Okay. The rate of flow of water coming through this is, let us say, 1 liter per second, let us say. From this side water is gushing at 2 liter per second, let us say. Here water will come out at what rate? See, no water is being accumulated somewhere. So if per 1 second only 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter are coming together, right? So this must be 3 liter per second, right? 3 liter per second, it's coming out. Exactly like that, suppose you imagine there are two conductors, okay? Electric conductors. Here charge is coming, let us say 1 coulomb per second. I am taking 1 coulomb is a huge amount, but I'm just saying, and this side 2 coulomb per second charge is coming, let us say, in this direction, in this direction. Here, how much coulomb per second will go? 3 coulomb per second charge will flow, yes or no? And flow of charge is a current. That means what currents are coming in, that must be added up simply algebraically, so that the charge, the electric current which is going out must be the algebraic sum of these two, yes or no? Or 1 coulomb per second is called what, ray? 1 ampere. So let us say 1 ampere current is flowing here, 2 ampere current is flowing along this, then this must be 3 ampere current should flow in the other direction. If I put it this way, 1 ampere is flowing, 2 ampere is flowing, and the conductor is given like this, this is 3 ampere is going. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. So what you did actually, you found out the algebraic sum only, yes or no? Okay, everybody say yes, I can hear that. Now see, suppose there is a force of 1 Newton and there is a force experienced here 2 Newton. What is the resultant force? If you calculate, can you simply add 1 plus 2? We have to add vectorially, right? If we will take this and find the summation of this parallelogram or triangular law, somewhere root under 1 square plus 2 or whatever, some if this is theta is not given but some theta is there, then if some theta is there, then we will be finding out the component of this along with a component along x-axis in this direction. Those two will be added, and there will be other components also. We will be vectorially add 1 and 2. It is not as simple as 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, like that we cannot say, right? So whenever we are taking vector quantities, then the direction also has to be taken into picture. They cannot simply algebraically be added, right? But current can be algebraically added. That means it doesn't follow vector laws. So electric current is not a vector, that's for sure, right? Whether it is a scalar like it is algebraically added, so it seems to be a scalar only. However, the scalar is having some direction of what? Suppose give some example of a scalar. Let us say mass is 2 kg. Is 2 kg flowing somewhere? That's no direction, right? So it is not a scalar purely also, right? It's not a vector, that is for sure. But is it a scalar? It's not a scalar also, right? Scalar, if you are taking mass, or let us say length is 5 km, or a time, let us say. So these things are, we cannot say that it is the electric current is like mass or like length or like time, like this also we cannot say, right? So it is neither a vector nor a scalar, and if it is treated to be a vector with some direction, sometimes we get the answers correctly. So for example, if we want to take it on paper, it has to be treated as a current vector sometimes to get the calculations correctly on a paper, which in alternating current we will be studying in detail. However, here what I can say is it is neither a vector nor a scalar also, and these type of quantities are called tensor quantities. T-E-N-S-O-R, tensor quantity. So exactly speaking, electric current is a tensor quantity, or it is a tensor. It's neither scalar nor a vector. However, in the optional choice, multiple choice questions, if you get a scalar, vector, none of the above, what is electric current is the question. Or simply I am writing I. What is electric current? That's the question. And in the options you have scalar, vector, none of the above. Then scalar will be the right answer. Electric current is not a vector. It is a scalar only. So scalar will be the right answer. However, in the options, if there is a scalar also, a vector also, tensor also, then tensor will be the correct answer. It's not a scalar also. If in the options tensor is not present, we will call electric current is scalar quantity. However, if it's a tensor is present, we will call it a tensor quantity. Is it clear? Now let me clarify it qualitatively also. You may get this doubt. See, from positive to negative only current is always flowing, right? If positive to negative one direction is there, why it's not a vector, sir? Like that one doubt is coming sometimes. It is like, see, it is generally flowing from, no doubt it is flowing from a higher potential to lower potential, but it's not flowing in a particular direction. See, if I take this conductor like this, it will flow from plus to minus only, higher potential to lower potential only, but the direction is like this. However, if I take the conductor like this, its direction become like this, right? So the direction is changing according to the conductor. However you take the conductor, its direction is changing. There is no fixed direction. Ultimately, it is going from higher potential to lower potential. So it's ultimately it is drifting towards the negative side. However, it's not having a fixed direction. But a force, whatever the vector quantities you have learned till now, they are having some direction, right? What's the direction? You can find out the direction of a vector quantity. But what is the direction of a current? It's not something definite. Whatever may be the direction, ultimately it will be reaching the lower potential side. Is it clear to everybody? Now, the potential difference, electric current, current density, overall idea, and to some depth also, we have understood these terms nicely. Now, some general knowledge kind of thing we'll see. What are current carriers? That is, in a conductor, what is carrying the current? You know that some charge is moving, then only that constitutes an electric current. If a charge is moving, that charge is moving in terms of what? In terms of what a charge is moving, that differs for various states of the conductor. The conductor may be in a solid state, the conductor may be in liquid state. We know some liquid crystals, liquid electrolytes are there. In cells we are taking copper sulfate solution, etc. That also salt solution, normal salt water also is a good conductor of electricity. So it may be in liquid form also, gaseous form also. So current carriers, what are current carriers? In a solid conductor, there are valence electrons. Now the word valence electrons I may not required, I am not needed to explain it. You know that outermost electron, it is taking part in the, it's called valence electron, that's why. What is the valency is measured from the outermost number of electrons, that's why it's called valence electrons. And in a solid state conductor, valence electron are serving as the current carriers. In liquid electrodes, positively and negatively charged ions are carriers of current. And in gases are generally neutral. Gases are generally bad conductors. They don't conduct electricity. Gases generally, all the gases are insulators only. However, when they are in ionized state, there will be anion and cation. These are the words you are using in chemistry, right? Positive ion and negative ion. There may be some positive charges and there are some other charges. The charges are basically the current carriers in case of gases. And in gases, when we say, that's not very accurate, because gases are not conductors only when the gas is in ionized state. And if I give some example, let us say of the liquid electrolyte of a solid, do I need any examples? Like you are seeing your copper wire, aluminum, silver, almost all the metals are good conductors only, and they are valence electrons of those conductors only are acting as the charge carriers or current carriers. And in a liquid, electrolytes are there. Let us say copper sulfate. When it's ionized, copper is like this we are writing, right? Doubly plus. Now let us say there is one copper sulfate solution. All these positive ions and negative ions are separated. Actually, in fact, the entire thing is neutral. However, you connect it with one EMF source. What will happen? This is the positive side. This is the negative side. Right? This is the positive side. This is the negative side. So this will push the sulfate ions and copper ions will be attracted towards it. So copper ions will move in this direction and sulfate ions will be moving in this direction. These are negatively charged, so it will be attracted towards the positive end and the copper ions will be moving towards this end. So both will constitute a current. And we know that if a negative charge is moving in this direction, what is the direction of a current? Because of a copper also, what is the direction of current? The direction of current is the same, only these two are getting added up. So that is the reason a current is being constituted in liquids due to positively and negatively charged ions and so. So in today's class, basically what electric current is, we have got an overall concept, and this will make the strong foundation with which we can proceed with the minor details further. Hope this session remained of help. Thank you, everybody.